everybody. Welcome to episode number 5 of the Clarity Project podcast. I am your host, 𝗦𝗢𝗓𝗦 Umali. So, just like with the previous episodes, I'm going to try and read some of my notes from the past from this notebook. And what's going to happen next is I'm going to give you my reflections to them afterwards. All right, so let's get started and let's read the first note. So, this one is from September 26, 2022. And from the looks of it, this is a thought of mine that I had for some reason, and I didn't want to forget it. And so I wrote it down as fast as I could because you know how thoughts are. They're really fleeting. We think that we will forever remember them, and then all of a sudden we look back to them and then we keep saying that, what is that again? I can't remember that. So that's something that I didn't want to have with this kind of thought, and that's why I wrote it down as fast as possible. So again, this is from September 26, 2022, and it's titled Hoping to be Liked. So let's get started with it. As I look at the trees, I can't help but think it's almost impossible to imagine that the trees around me will one day not be here, or that maybe everything around me that moves, that makes noise, and feels will someday be gone. Look around you. Notice the things that you may think will last long. Maybe the walls around you. Maybe the great old trees. Or maybe even the mountains. It's almost crazy to think that someday these things will be gone. And there's no saying whether their memories will last forever, or that their memory will move on long after they are gone. Nothing lasts forever if it takes forever. What this passage talks about is the fleeting nature of life, the ephemeral reality that we all share, irregardless of whether you are alive or not. Through animate or inanimate things, all of this will pass. All of this has an end. No matter how you feel something is permanent in this world, no matter how great its structure is, no matter how grand or gigantic it is, it will someday be gone. Even if it's the mountains, even if it's the great buildings in great cities, even if it's the richest person in the world, and the many more rich person after them, it's all going to pass. Nothing in this world is permanent. If you take a little bit of a science lesson and a history lesson, we know that at some point in time, that the world was one piece, that it is a supercontinent, and now look at it. We are now divided into 7 continents. It used to be this just one giant solid mass of land, but now it's divided into thousands upon thousands of islands. You could think about reality in that way. We could share the same vista in terms of the things that's so grand. But they could also take that same philosophy and take it to something that's really small and that's really real right now. So I don't know where you are right now, where you are watching this or where you are listening to this, but try and look around you. Are you inside of a room? Maybe it's your room. Maybe it's some other room, an office, or maybe you're in your commute. Try to look around you and the things that you can notice. And try to pay attention to all of the things around you. Try to look at each of their detail, their minute details, their little imperfections, their little grooves, their texture, their color, their bumps, their smoothness, their thickness, their length, their width, their depth. How long was it there? Is it new? Is it old? What is its condition? Is it still alright? Is it dilapidated? What does it look like? Everything around you has witnessed a lot of things. Everything around you has changed a lot. Maybe it faded into color. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it seems like the way that it was the first day you saw it. But irregardless of that, no matter how it seems that they won't change, believe me, they will change. Believe me, someday they will all be gone and it will all be different. All of it will be destroyed and nothing of it will be left here. And once they are gone, there's no saying whether they're going to stay in memory. There's no saying whether they're going to stay a long time after they are gone. Just take a look at the history and what it tells us. We celebrate our national hero, which is Jose Rizal, which, believe it or not, only lived more over 100 years ago. And we still remember him because it's only 100 years ago. He lived during a time where it was really significant. There was a revolution, and that he created things that outlived him, like his novels and the things he wrote and the lessons and the inspiration that he gave many people after him. We think of other heroes such as Andres Bonifacio, who was inspired through the novels of Jose Rizal. We think of old books that are still celebrated and still read today. They're here and their authors are remembered because there is a book. Someday, even those books will be gone. We think about the great structures of the past, like the pyramids, on how something that grand could be done by an ancient civilization. And we remember those civilizations because of those pyramids. And so, yes, you could create something that can outlive you. You could create something like a legacy that the future generation will still remember. But that thing and that legacy will always be outcompeted by time. Let's read further. Now, this one is from October 2, 2022. It says, "I'm not afraid of death anymore. Everyone that builds that will last beyond them have this fear of death. If you study a little bit of science, you will realize that we are amoeba. We are bacteria. We are a bunch of monkeys in a small space rock revolving around a star. That's part of a gigantic galaxy. That's also part of a gigantic universe. That's also part of a gigantic multiverse. Nothing lasts. Eventually, you will fade. Your thoughts will fade. Your works will fade. We are here for a very short amount of time. You only get like 70, 80, if you're lucky 100 out of 50 billion years, or whatever how many the universe has. So there's really no sense to make yourself sad or miserable. Don't take yourself too seriously. Nothing that you do will matter in the long run." So this passage builds upon the other passage, which talks about the topic of existence and the impermanence of life and everything around you. It makes you see things that you wouldn't have otherwise have noticed because you're so focused on what's immediately in front of you. It makes you zoom out and see things from a different perspective. It sees you as this little person that's operating under such a fraction of a time of a big and massive universe and the seemingly never-ending march of time. It lets you see how insignificant your little negativity will get you, because eventually it will all be gone. It teaches you to seize the day, which is popularized by the Latin term carpe diem. It makes you see that reality could not be reality. It lets you see that the same life that you're living right now is the same kind of reality that other people that you've never seen before, people who are halfway across the world from you, is also experiencing. It tells you that you are not special, but at the same time that you are special. You're not special in the sense that your emotions and your problems and your plights are maybe not so unique, but it tells you that you're special because the difference is, for millions of years you did not exist and now you do. And so if you're really lucky and you live up to 100, then for 100 years you're going to exist. But after that, you're going to stop to exist again. And that's going to remain true until the end of time. So what are you doing with your life? take a step back and really realize what are the things that you have been doing for all of these years. Have you wasted your life so far? What are the things that you have done? Remember that existence is a miracle. It's a miracle because a lot of things has to happen correctly in order for you to exist. If somewhere along the way something happened differently, then you would never exist ever. That's how crazy it is. That's how much of a miracle it is that you are alive today. Something has to happen correctly in a precise and a definite way for you to be here. And yet, what are you doing? You're probably wasting your life. You're probably scrolling endlessly to social media through nonsensical things. You're probably involved in a lot of things that doesn't make sense for you. You're probably engaged in innocuous little things that will never serve you and the people that you care about. Now, there's this one movie whose quote I always think about every time I get to think about existence and this topic in general, which is this quote, which goes out like this. Now is the envy of all of the dead. Let me repeat that. Now is the envy of all of the dead. Every dead person is now envious of what you have right now. If you're listening to this podcast, it means that you're probably in a position where you have access to the internet. It probably means that you're in a position to be able to watch this from some kind of a device that you own or maybe just borrowed or whatever. But what it tells you is that no matter how much it feels like that nothing is going your way, that all of the dead people before you is now envious of you. Irregardless of whether they did great things in their life or not, whether they were kings from the past, it doesn't matter. They are envious of you because you are still alive. The people who are now dead, people who were successful and the people who were not so successful, they all share the same envy. They want to be alive. Because at the end of the day, existence is the only thing that matters. It matters more when other people's judgments of you. It matters more than your self-concept of success. It matters more than your failures. It matters more than your problems. It matters more than the little inconveniences that you have in your life. And it matters more than anything in the world right now. Existence is a blessing. Start treating it like one. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for episode number 5. And again, as always, if you watch it in full or you watch it in snippets, I'd like to be able to thank you for your time and for listening. So, yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.